Another day, another story. James, by Percival Everett, is one of his fascinating works, typically imbued with depth, wit, and a challenge to conventional narratives. Everett often delves into themes such as identity, culture, and the absurdities of societal norms. However, the exact details of the story or thematic focus of James may not be widely available if it's a less commonly discussed piece. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Could you clarify if this is a short story, poem, or an excerpt from one of his broader collections? If you're looking for an analysis or summary of this specific piece, let me know, and I can try to dig deeper into its context or themes. James is a poem by Percival Everett, an acclaimed writer known for exploring themes of identity, race, and existential questions in his work. James is part of his collection titled Re-F Gesture, which combines poetry, fiction, and philosophical musings in a way that defies traditional categorization. The poem is a profound meditation on the idea of meaning and our search for significance, whether in relationships, language, or life itself. Everett's writing style often involves irony, wordplay, and an interrogation of assumptions. If you're interested in exploring the poem further, let me know, and I can help break it down or provide an interpretation of its themes and style. The poem James by Percival Everett weaves themes of identity, absence, and existential pondering into its narrative. Percival Everett, a masterful storyteller and poet, often uses his work to challenge traditional ideas of meaning, offering layered and nuanced storytelling that blends personal reflection with broader societal commentary. In James, Everett plays with the notion of the absent figure. The poem reflects on how James becomes a metaphor for loss, longing, and the human condition. Though the exact details are not directly spelled out, the poem often reads like a puzzle, inviting readers to engage deeply and find their own interpretation. The style is reflective and slightly cryptic, blending raw emotion with intellectual wit. Everett's philosophical lens turns the absence of James into a commentary on how people, relationships, and even memories shape our understanding of the world and ourselves. The story of the poem lies in its ambiguity. James might represent a specific person, an archetype, or even a concept. Everett often allows his readers the freedom to fill in the blanks, creating a shared space where personal and universal meanings coexist. It seems you're looking for a deeper narrative or interpretation of James by Percival Everett. While Everett's poem does not follow a traditional narrative structure, it invites exploration through its themes, language, and philosophical undertones. Let's expand on its possible story. The essence of James is less about the tangible presence of a character named James and more about what he represents: absence, memory, and the search for meaning. The story in the poem may lie in how James, as a figure or concept, reflects the complexity of human relationships and the emotions tied to them: grief, longing, or even unfulfilled potential. The ambiguity of James, the poem thrives on ambiguity. Everett often uses this as a tool to ask larger questions about identity and meaning. Who is James? Is he a literal person, a stand-in for a lost loved one, or a concept, like a shadow of a self we once were or wished to be? The vagueness allows readers to see James in their own lives, making him universal. Possible narratives: James as memory. The poem might tell the story of someone grappling with the memory of James, whether as a friend, family member, or even a former self. This creates an emotional journey through the labyrinth of nostalgia and regret. James as an idea. Everett could be using James as a symbol for broader existential questions. why we exist, how we define ourselves, and how we deal with the voids in life. James as a reflection of the speaker. Another interpretation could be that James represents a fractured part of the speaker's identity, a part that has been lost or suppressed. Everett's style and impact, the lack of a concrete story, is intentional. Percival Everett's work often challenges readers to engage beyond surface-level narratives, offering a fragmented yet deeply resonant exploration of emotions and ideas. In James, the story is not linear but emotional, shaped by the echoes of what is said and left unsaid. It seems you're looking for more narrative depth or a way to connect the poem James by Percival Everett to a richer story. While James is a poem and not a traditional story, let's imagine or expand upon the underlying world it suggests, inspired by Everett's themes and style. A hypothetical story behind James. Imagine James as a once vivid figure in the speaker's life, now receding into the shadows of memory. He might have been a friend, a brother, a lover, or even a mentor, someone who left a profound impact but whose absence now looms larger than their presence ever did. The speaker could be navigating the aftermath of James's departure, whether through death, estrangement, or the simple drift of time. Each stanza might reflect a different layer of this loss. The memories of shared laughter now tinged with the ache of separation. The haunting realization that James, who once seemed so essential, is now fading, his name reduced to an echo. The speaker's own struggle to define themselves without James, as though James was a mirror reflecting parts of their own identity. James as a symbol in this expanded view, James could symbolize more than a single person. He might represent lost potential, the unfulfilled dreams or choices the speaker might have pursued but never did. A universal absence, the universal human experience of loss, whether of people, places, or even versions of ourselves. Existential questions. James could embody the philosophical inquiry central to Everett's work. Who are we without the people who define us? What remains when someone is gone? Scenes from James. Imagine these narrative snapshots inspired by the poem, The Cafe Encounter. The speaker sits alone at a cafe they once frequented with James, staring at the empty chair across the table, hearing echoes of old conversations that once defined their shared world. A forgotten letter. The speaker finds an old, unfinished letter from James, filled with musings about life, philosophy, and hope. Words that feel eerily prescient now. The riverbank. In a quiet moment, the speaker walks along a riverbank, a place where they and James once spent hours debating ideas. The river, ever flowing and unchanged, contrasts with the void left by James's absence. A possible ending. In a moment of revelation, the speaker realizes that James is both gone and present. His impact has shaped who they are, and in that way, James continues to exist. The poem/story closes not with resolution, but with acceptance, as the speaker embraces the interplay of memory, absence, and identity. In a dreamlike moment, the narrator feels James' presence, not as a ghost, but as a memory woven into their being. James is gone, but he's not lost. The search was never really about finding James. It was about finding peace with his absence. Each fragment brings the narrator closer to understanding and farther from closure. The ending, acceptance. The story ends with the narrator returning to the riverbank where they and James once sat. The river flows, unchanged, indifferent yet comforting in its constancy. The narrator sits for a while, letting the memory of James settle like the silt in the water. They whisper, "You're still here." and they walk away carrying James, not in their arms, but in their heart. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.